All right. Good morning, everyone. I recognize a couple faces in here. For those of you that don't know me, you can see up there Mike Zakiki. A couple years ago, I started specialized rescue training. I'm the owner. I'll also be your instructor today. And then some of you may have seen me in other places. Also a registered instructor for the state and 5 other rescue disciplines. I also work for City of Vacaville Fire. I'm here today. You guys aren't students. You guys are all attendees, all right? We're all brothers and sister, and I'm just here to pass on some information. So I'm definitely not an expert, but I think you'll find by the end of this class, I've got quite a bit of good information and a good program to pass on you to make you guys more effective the next time you go to an elevator entrapment. By all means, any questions, anything that I can't get answered for you today, I'll do my best to get everything answered today. I don't think we'll have any problems. But if we do, I will get an answer for you. All right? And so a little bit about how I got started and why I'm here passing this on to you. About 15 years ago, when I was on probation in Vacaville, when I got hired, some of you guys will see, you may even had them, we had one step-up pick, and then we had a ring of what you call lunar keys, which I'll show you guys earlier. If you're carrying those on those rigs, pull them off, hang them in the station for a souvenir, or send them to a museum because they're useless, and I'll explain to you why in a little bit. So I was young, naive, didn't really know much about elevator rescue or elevator entrapments, and just thought that one key would work for everything. So probably like most of you in the room here, want to be professional, good at our craft, went to an elevator entrapment at Brendan Theaters in Vacaville, and thought that that one pick was the job. And I don't know about you guys if you've experienced it, but showing up to something and not having the answers to mitigate the situation or to be able to resolve the problem is quite embarrassing. So that entrapment had to rely on a technician. And so afterwards, that technician, probably like ones you guys have came across, wasn't the most friendly. They're like the military, sworn to secrecy. They don't want to share. They don't want to give anything. So at the time, luckily, I was working for a good truck captain and wanted to be good at his craft as well, and didn't like the fact that we were defeated. So we made contact with the manager staff at Brendan and found out who had the contract for service that elevator. Happened to be a Schindler elevator and just happened to be Schindler service. That's not always the case, and we'll cover that a little bit more later. So guy came out, we were there for training, and luckily this was a good dude. And he dropped his pick after our training, and you never see me scramble so fast to get 2 pieces of paper taped together and trace that pick. And it just kind of started from there. So I've been fortunate enough throughout my time now, a little over 16 years with Vacaville, to come across a few handful of good technicians and quite a few horrible ones. So about 5 years ago, I partnered up informally with a gentleman that's worked for 3 out of the 4 major elevator companies. You'll find this is something I'm very passionate about, so spend a lot of time on my days off, ride-alongs with them, getting information. And I'm going to show you when we get into the kits today that you guys have all purchased. You'll see stuff in there that elevator technicians don't even have that you run with. So that's a little bit about me and how I got started. And so hopefully you'll walk away and we'll all be able to get something out of this, all right? I want to preface, this training is geared towards public passenger elevators. All right. If you have any questions on residential elevators and how to attack them, I'll probably be able to help you with that a little bit as well. But I want to make sure that the information that I'm giving you is for public passenger elevators, not residential. When we start talking about the anatomy on the machinery and some of the different things, I'm giving information on public passenger elevators because some of it will contradict with residentials if you've had experience with them. All right. So we're going to go ahead today. The objective for today is we're going to cover in this morning session, we're going to cover the terminology and components. We're going to talk about different types of elevators, their safety features. We're going to talk about the difference between an emergency or an incident on an entrapment. And then obviously what we're here is for is rescue methods. So give or take questions, we'll be in the classroom for about 3 hours. After that, I've been told we're going to do a working lunch or kind of quasi-working lunch. And then afterwards, representatives from your agency have already predetermined elevators that I know nothing about, haven't been to them, don't know what they are, and then we'll go out and I'm going to show you my procedure, take you through a simple to complex procedure today, ultimately ending up at picking the elevators with the kits that will be on your rigs, okay? And I'm here as long as you guys want. The class is typically 8 hours. I was told we go till 5. I get it. We're in the fire service. You guys got to go back. Dinner. Some of you may be disrupted for calls. I'm not watching my clock. That 8 hours, it's not I'm loading up and going. If we're in the middle of something, or you know maybe another elevator comes up that we didn't have set out to go attack today, we'll go to it, all right? You'll find out I want to give you as much as I can while I'm here. And when I leave, anything that comes up that we didn't address today, feel free to get a hold of me. All right? So, remember as we go through this, all elevators are not built the same. Elevators installed in different time periods conform to different requirements and codes. Elevator features and operations may vary from one elevator to another. We're going to see that today. And get to know the elevators in your district. So I don't know if you guys do engine company inspections, but if you don't, you're getting out, you're pre-planning. Hopefully after this, the agencies that I've been in, I've motivated them, they're out, and they're going and assessing their elevators, figuring out what they are and implementing the stuff that I'll give you today. After you clear a call, you're on a medical aid, take a look in there, hit the elevator, open it up, look up inside, look around, all right? So, just like you see here, I don't need to beat that up, but we'll get into the anatomy and then the physiology. I'm going to explain to you how the elevator works and why we can do the things that we're going to do today. All right? So, before I get too far ahead of myself, the start of where we're going to go through this PowerPoint, your handout follows along with it as well. We're going to get into all the different components of the elevator, right? And just talking the same terminology when we go out and we reference something this afternoon, I want you to know what I'm talking about, all right? What I've done here is as we go through some of these different components on the elevator, this is kind of for my visual learners in here like myself. Imagine this if you were somewhere and you were going to hit the call button on the wall to call the elevator. That's a hoistway door that you're looking at right now, okay? So if you're in the lobby of an elevator, you push the call button, you're looking at the elevator waiting for the damn thing to open because you want to go somewhere. That's what you're looking at, hoistway door, okay? Now I'm going to turn this around, and what you don't see on the other side when the elevator is closed is what we're going to be talking about here. So where that's saying interlock box, this is the interlock box right here that's up in the header of the elevator, okay? And that's what I'll get to in a second, is what retains the keeper, all right? So as you see there, and so when you go out into your districts, you'll see this happens to be a Dover. Some of them are just a label that's stuck to it, some are riveted, and some are engraved. But the program that I've put for you today, it's not an always, every time. It's a majority, okay? And so the kit that I've provided for you is not based on what the manufacturer of the elevator is. It's based on what the door hardware is, all right? But you won't necessarily know that ahead of time. But you will be able to go into the machine room or the elevator room once you've made access, and you will be able to see what the manufacturer of that elevator is. Today we'll cover the difference between a manufacturer's label and a service or a test label. Okay, and we'll cover that when we get out there. The reason why I share this with you is because, for those of you who don't know, there's what you call the major four. The major four is Otis, Kone, Schindler, and now ThyssenKrupp. ThyssenKrupp is the same as Dover. They bought out Dover. And then you have your fifth category, which is all your mom and pop shops. They're called independents. And there's a ton of those, okay? So the reason why I tell you this is Thyssen or Dover, it doesn't matter. It's the same door hardware. They have their own manufactured door hardware. Schindler uses ECI. Okay, Otis uses Otis, Kone uses Kone, and then the independents could either use GAL, MAC, or ECI. And so how I've built this program to run, which I'll reinforce later, is I've set up to where the majority of the door hardware that is associated with a certain manufacturer, because that'll be given to us when we make access to the elevator or machine room, that's how we're going to utilize the pick. All right? And so if I went out to an elevator and I was expecting, and it was a Thyssen or a Dover, and I open that up and I look in there and I see ECI, MAC, or G, that should be alarming to me. Okay? So then what we'll do, that means that there was an event or a situation with that elevator in the pre-existing door hardware, and that's been changed out, and the door hardware that was used prior or typically used for that manufacturer, they couldn't get a hold of. The elevator business is in business just to make money and get that elevator up and going. So they can put any door hardware in there that they get their hands on. All right? So once we know that, that's when we're going to make note, and we go back, however you guys do it in your system, either through dispatch or whatever, the hazard notes or caution notes assigned to that property, you're going to put that in whatever system. So in your MCT, when you go to an elevator entrapment again, it's going to come up, and whether you put what that door hardware is, or you'll know when I'm done with you today, what pick you're going to utilize to attack that elevator, you'll put that in your notes because it's different, okay? It doesn't fall into the routine. So we may stumble across it today. I haven't had that happen yet in all the trainings that I've done. But they're, like I said, it's majorities. It's just like the auto industry now, right? They're putting multiple batteries. Some are in the wheel wells, under the back seat, and the trunk. Still greater than 60% of the time, we're going to attack the hood because that's where it's going to be the majority of the time. Same thing, I've set you up for success the majority of the time, but there's going to be little curveballs thrown in there. All right? We'll cover that when we get into it later. So I'm not going to read all this to you. I want to pick up some time because I'm sure you're like me. We want to get to the hands-on stuff. So this follows your PowerPoint, and it basically tells you what the interlock does. The interlock, you see the keeper in the door there in the upper right-hand corner. You'll see coming to the next slide. What the interlock box does is that's an electromagnetic connection, and that keeper box is a circuit, but it's also a mechanical device that holds that hoistway door and locked, so we have security when the elevator runs up and down in the shaft. We don't have an unprotected hoistway or elevator shaft. All right? This is the keeper. You can see there I'm pointing with the arrow. It's the same thing on my visual aid that I have up there. The keeper gets secured when the door is shut into the interlock box. Like I said, that's electromagnetic connection. There's just like the, it completes a circuit just like on your ladder trucks, the outriggers. So if the outriggers aren't out, it won't let you put the aerial up. If the outriggers, it won't allow you to bring the outriggers in if the aerial's up. So same thing, it closes that circuit and tells the circuit board that, hey, I have an elevator, a hoistway door open, the shaft's unprotected, don't run, or it's closed and secured and it's safe for the car to run. This here is a door clutch, all right? And for a second here, what this is, and I put this in here for a visual, that is not the door clutch. That is the pickup wheel assembly. And what I'm showing you in here is how the pickup wheel assembly comes down into the door clutch. So I'll show you hopefully the difference based on the elevators that you guys have provided today. We're either going to have door clutches or what you call a bayonet, okay? A door clutch will always be like so, whether the pickup wheels come down in it and sit horizontally or they're vertical, but they'll come down and they'll meet and set in that door clutch. Or you'll have a bayonet, which looks like a bayonet or a rod that you will see today on our Otis, and it will come down and it will split two pickup wheels and go down in the center. So either the pickup wheel assembly fits into the clutch, or there's a bayonet that comes down in and splits the pickup wheels. And all this, I guarantee I see a lot of faces like, what is he talking about? It'll come together this afternoon. Just think of this as an orientation or exposure right now. What this allows is this is going to be on the car door, and this is on the hoistway door. So when I say hoistway door and car door, I don't want to insult anybody's intelligence. Everybody knows what I'm talking about? Okay, perfect. I appreciate it, Cap. So when I go into an occupancy or building equipped with elevators, however many elevator shafts that are in that building at every floor, when I'm looking at the elevator to call to go from one floor to the next, I'm looking at a hoistway door. So depending on how many elevators are in that building and how many floors, it's going to be how many hoistway doors there are. The car or car door is on the actual elevator car that moves up and down in the hoistway, or also known as the elevator shaft. So if the building's only got one elevator, then it's only got one car door. If it's got multiple elevators within the building, then it has that many car doors. Does that make sense? So the door clutch is always, no exceptions, is always going to be on the car door, okay? Just like I have there. In your PowerPoint, you can see the picture that should be there. But that's pickup rollers. These are pickup rollers right here, okay? And this is going to be key to remember. However you want to remember skateboard wheels, roller skate wheels. However, I want you to have a visual in your head of that, because that's going to impact later on. There's 3 different ways that we can attack a door. We can do an outside-in rescue, inside-out, or a combination of the two. Okay? And so that's why it's so important that we know the anatomy that's on the back side, so we can communicate that to the occupant that's trapped inside, if capable, to assist us possibly with resolving the entrapment. So door gibs, they're basically a nylon or a composite material. All they are is a guide that's on the bottom of the hoistway door. And if someone were to lean or put pressure on the hoistway door, it just keeps that from swinging in or out or being able to push in the car door. So it allows, when the car door opener opens up the hoistway door, it allows that door to move laterally or horizontal plane back and forth without swinging in or out. Okay, so that's a door gibs. Located at the base of the door. And we'll talk about those a little bit more later. And in the field, we'll have to address those on how we're going to work our picks around those. Door hanger is just like you see at the top, just like on some of your sliding closet doors at home is what they're like. And so most of them will be an open hanger. There are some manufacturers out there now, Thyssen, the new Kones. It's what you call an integral door hanger. It's solid all the way across the top. And we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get out into the field. So before I get too far ahead of myself, so some of this makes sense, and I'll explain it a couple times throughout to reinforce this. I want you to write down, it's in the PowerPoint too, but I want you to remember Class 2, Class 3, and Class 4 elevators. Don't worry about Class 1. It's not a class of elevator. It's an administration code. Okay? So Class 2 is going to be May of 1998 and prior. Okay? Class 3 is going to be somewhere thereafter, or right around May of 98 up until October of 2008. Anything around that time, but after October 2008 is going to be a Group 4. Okay? And so why this is so important is because with different codes and different requirements on these elevators, they're going to have different features on them. And I'll get into that a little bit more later. But some Group 3s that have been retroed, not to say that you won't see it on a Group 2. You could. It would be something that you should take a mental note of and document when you're out in the field. But some Group 3s and all, no exception, Group 4s will all have an egress limiter or a door restrictor. And what that is basically if the elevator is not within its unlock zone, okay, then the door will not open on the car more than 4 inches. It's a safety requirement, so a little kid or something there can't open the car door and fall down into the elevator shaft. Okay, so a Group 2, which is very rare, unless it's been retroed, anywhere in that hoistway, I can hit stop inside the elevator car, and I can open up the car door inside the elevator any place I want in the elevator shaft. Doesn't matter how close I am, how far I am away from the floor. Anywhere I can open that up, okay? Some group 3s, I can do the same thing. If it has a door restrictor, it won't allow me to open it more than 4 inches. Okay? Why is this so important, and what does it mean to you? We're always going to work simple to complex when we show up to something like this. So when I make contact and to the entrapped occupants and communicate with them, I'm trying to figure out where they are, whether or not it's an incident or emergency, how many people are in the elevator, where were they coming from or where were they going to try and locate where that car is in between floors. I can tell them, okay, to, even with the power on, hit the stop switch and try and open up the elevator from the inside. Open up the car door from the inside. If they do and they open it up and it only opens a few inches, it tells me a couple things. It tells me we're not within the unlock zone, okay? And it tells me that it's equipped with a door restrictor. So it's great if we can get into a hoistway door. But if we don't know how to overcome the door restrictor once we open it, then we can't get the car door open, okay? And so we'll cover that today. So rules of thumb on a group 2, depending on the group 2, whether it's been is anywhere from 12, sometimes up to 18 inches, plus or minus, okay? Plus or minus is the unlock zone in between the floors. And what that means is anytime I'm in the unlock zone, whether I've killed power or we've had them utilize the emergency stop inside, if it's an older elevator still equipped with it, anytime they open up that car door, from the inside, it's automatically going to open up the hoistway door with it as well. Because the pickup wheels are either in the door clutch or the bayonet is in the pickup wheel assembly. Okay? And I'll show you that later, and you can kind of see here without the door clutch is when they put pressure on the door, essentially what happens, this would be down. This would be down, and as they put pressure on this, in the door clutch, it pushes and it lifts the keeper lifts the keeper out of the interlock box. All right. So on a group 3, okay, group 3. I'm sorry. Thank you. Sorry. I'm sorry. I said class before. Thank you. I got ahead of myself. It's group. Sorry, all of it is group. Sorry, thank you for the clarification. It's group 2, group 3, group 4. Sorry for the misunderstanding. On a group 3, okay, group 3, depending on the door clutch or the bayonet, it's going to be 6 to 12 inches on the unlock zone. And a group 4 is going to be 4 to 6. Okay? The other thing is when you go out, let me go back and show you this, in the field, sorry. So in the field, when you open up and you're looking in the elevator and you look at the door clutch, basically from here where the pickup wheel assembly to the bottom, whatever that distance is, roughly cut in half, because that's where the pickup wheels like to sit, it's not exact, give or take, is going to let you know what the unlock zone is on that elevator, okay? If you take and look, we're going to go to an Otis today that has a bayonet. The length of that Otis, you're going to see where the pickup wheels sit on there. The length from the pickup wheels to the top of that, or from the pickup wheels to the bottom of it, that's the unlock zone on the elevator. Okay? And why that is so important is anytime we're within that zone, okay, both doors will open together. Whether I pick it from the outside and push it open together, or if I do an inside-out rescue if the occupant's capable of it. Okay? The other reason why I share this with you is how many people in here are familiar with going to hydro elevators and bleeding them down? Okay, how many of you is that your standard practice? If I wasn't here today and you rolled on an elevator entrapment right now, you would just go in to the machine room and you would just manually lower the hydraulic elevator. Is that what you would do?
Maybe you think it's stuck in between floors.
What's that?
If it's stuck in between floors, you want to lower it. If that's what I suspect, I'll lower it so it's at a floor. So
Okay, so you can do that. Here's what I'm going to tell you too, is all group 2s and pretty much all group 3s. Why am I even going to mess in, unless it's super high, you could try and put it on the floor. But what's around here, what's typical height on your guys' hydro? It can't be any more than 6 feet, right? You usually, 6 stories, I mean, you normally don't even see them that high, right? Typically 3, 4, 2 stories, right? Go in there and open up the manual lower and set it all the way down. You'll set it on the buffers inside the pit. It'll still be within the unlock zone. They push it open and they step out. No big deal. Here's what I'm going to tell you. You go to a group 4 hydro elevator and you bleed that all the way down and you put it on the buffers in the elevator pit, you just screwed yourself. Because the unlock zone was only 4 to 6 inches, you just skipped the unlock zone. And if you're not good or handy with the picks that I provided you, you're dead in the water now. They're not. The buffers are what sits in the pit of the elevator that when the car's all the way down, it rests on. If you open them up, they look like big coils or springs. That's the buffer. That's what I'm referring to when I say that. Okay? So here's what I'll tell you. This is one of my always for the fire service, and there's very few always in elevators. Okay? If you're going with my school of thought and my training, and I challenge you to reference this with any checks that you come across, we never, ever blindly bleed down a group 4 hydro. Never. So here's what I say blindly. I'm never going to do it with the hoistway door closed and I can't see what's going on or where the car is. So I'm either going to be good with my picks and I'm going to pick the hoistway and the car was in between floors, so I'm going to use the manual lower to bring it to a floor, okay? Or if it's a center opening elevator and it's a hydro, by code, every single center opening elevator, regardless of manufacturer, has 3/8 of play in each side. Okay? So you guys do the math. When I open it up, I got 3/4 of an inch I could see in there. I can open up a center opening and see where the car is, if it's at the floor or not. Okay, I open that up and I peek through. It's a center opening hoistway and I don't see the car door. Guess what? We're going to rock the manual lower and we're going to bring it down to floor level because I have a pick that you guys now have. It does not matter the manufacturer. Any center opening elevator, as long as it's within the unlock zone, will open every time in seconds. You'll see it every time. Doesn't matter. So I'm going to open it up. I'm going to be in good communication with whoever I have in the mechanical room, or also known as the elevator room, and I'm going to bleed it down, which we all know in here that have experienced it, moves very slowly, right? Very slowly, even all the way down. It's almost at a crawl space. So you have plenty of time within that unlock zone with good communication to stop that car and put it within the unlock zone to open it with that pick, all right? I know I'm throwing a lot at you, all right? And I'm trying to get done as close to lunch as, and I have a tendency to talk fast anyways. So if I'm confusing any of you or you're not getting it, stop me because I want to make sure that I'm crystal clear. And I appreciate the clarification between the group and the class. Okay? This happens to be an example of a door restrictor that's on a GAL. Okay? So there's a couple different kind of door restrictors out there. I've got a couple in here. You'll have to where it's either tied to the door clutch, okay, to the door clutch or the keeper assembly on a Kone, I'll show you. And then as far as the Otis and the ThyssenKrupp, it's a manual bar. It looks like a piece of angle iron, if you would, that's on springs and it's at the back of the door. Okay, and it's really simple. If you push and it doesn't move, you push the wrong way. You got a 50-50 chance, you push it the other way, and you'll see that it releases, and it's a mechanical bar mechanism that you release, and you'll be able to open the door. All right? And hopefully we'll come across a couple today. I'll be able to show you.
That's the car door, right?
What's that? Yes, absolutely. Door restrictor, thank you. Door restrictor always, no exceptions, always on the car door. All right? So this I'm showing you right here. This is a Kone. This is the door restrictor on the Kone, okay? So by simply squeezing this and operating this, the spring, as I do that and squeeze it, this comes back off that hook and it releases the door restrictor. Why this is so important? It doesn't do me any good if I get the hoistway door open and I don't know how to overcome the door restrictor, all right? So pretty much all newer Group 3s, some have been retroed, and absolutely all Group 4s all have a door restrictor on them. Okay?